Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So I just watched a Jiujitsu video, which we'll go into a little bit. Shout out to Chewie. Actually, James from our gym, from Stout PGH, visited him. He has some pictures and stuff. It was cool. So shout out again to Chewie for hosting one of our members. Thanks for being hospitable. So we'll be going into the video right now. So the video title is "The Worst BJJ Advice to Give to Strong People," and I had some thoughts about it. So let's go into the video and let's get to our reaction with two cameras. Also, just for the record, I'm wearing the shades because there's a lot of lights here, and it's hard to see all the screens that I'm looking at with all the lights in my face. So it makes it easier to see these screens. I'm not just being an asshole. I mean, I am an asshole, but that's not the reason why I'm wearing the sunglasses. Anyway, let's get to it. Here we go. Here's the video. Let's get to it.
But one of the worst pieces of advice...
By the way, I have it on 1.5 speed just for time's sake, and I always end up choosing the... How are you supposed to pause things? Anyway, here we go.
I've seen float around a lot of times is stop using your strength, use technique. Or sometimes as big, strong people will get these comments of these backhanded comments after we beat someone. They'll say, oh, well, you didn't really beat me because you're technical, you beat me because you're strong, right? Something like that. I guarantee you that's happened to a lot of you guys. And it's terrible advice, by the way. Like, don't use your strength, use technique. Not that we don't want to use more technique, because that's always the goal. But to say don't use strength, why not? We don't demonize anything else in jiu-jitsu physically like that, right? We don't say, hey, stop using your flexibility. That's not technical. Hey, don't be so fast. don't have so much cardio and move so much. Be more technical. We don't do any of that most of the time. Most of the time, just the strength is the one that gets the issue.
So here's my thought about all that. So I would say that all the things he said, including strength, all that stuff, those are all attributes that not everyone has. Anything that not everyone has access to is an attribute. So in my opinion, like perfect jiu-jitsu is just using the actual framework of your body in such a way that it makes it impossible to penetrate your defense. And so like that's just... So anything that everyone can't do isn't really core jiu-jitsu. You like all the extra stuff, like flexibility stuff, bendy people stuff, strength stuff, that's stuff that everyone does not have. And so yeah, I think that those are all categorized under the same kind of umbrella. I love Star Wars, so I call that all those things, attributes are the dark side. Any explosive movement, anything that involves like actually, I've heard a lot of high level people say don't push, like never, like that's like in some people's minds that's like a hard and fast rule, don't push. So that makes sense to me. So you're never really using like physical strength. Like usually if my arms are extending like this, it's because I'm blocking something, I'm moving away from them, like I'm moving myself into a space that I control. Not that I don't make space by pushing against any force like that. Resisting is not the way of jiu-jitsu. So anyway, let's continue with the video. We'll separate, in my mind, I separate it. Dark side, there's jiu-jitsu, which is the force, and then there's the dark side of the force, which are all the attributes that you can use if you want to, but they're going to drain you for sure. You can't keep using a lot of those things, strength, your cardio power, like explosive movement. No one can do that forever. But you can keep your elbows in. Anyway, here we go.
And a lot of times, it doesn't give any direction. We're just like, stop using your strength. What do you want me to do? Now, here's my rubs with it. Most often, I think a lot of times this comes out of just ego issues, where people get frustrated because some big, strong person does something to them that technically isn't sound. They shouldn't be able to get away with it, but because they're big and strong, they get away with it. So technically...
I mean, I totally agree with that. Getting away with some stuff. Well, I think people get upset whenever they think people are getting away with something, but honestly, that just means your jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, isn't your defense isn't perfect, because no one should be able to do that. Like no one should be able to push. You can't push through someone's arm if it's in the right place. It's in the way. Like if someone is using they're doing the exact right thing, no amount of strength can get through the barriers that you have presented. Anyway, here we go.
It's not right. That just means our technique, as the person who's more technically sound, needs to get better, period. But the
or that amount, if someone's using a lot of energy, you should be able to feel where that energy is and move with it and either redirect it or avoid it in some way or whatever. So let's continue.
Big issue that I have with it is that one, everything requires strength. I know that jiu-jitsu has this mythology about strength versus technique and technique overall and leverage and everything else. These are all true to a degree, but we still use strength. Every time you contract a muscle to move, you're using strength on some level.
So the key word here is contract. So muscles, again, muscles don't push. That's not what they do. All muscles pull. And so the strongest mechanisms we need to focus on are the pulling and getting into the correct defensive positions where you can arrange your limbs and your body in a way that they're all working together and that they're all blocking and moving in a way that it would be impossible for anyone to do anything offensive to you. And I'm just saying this is ideal jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying this is what happens all the time. Obviously, it becomes chaos. But when you think about it, like the reason why. Anyway, we'll keep going.
I want to pick up a damn glass of water and drink. That's going to require strength and dexterity in my hands and my arms to do so. This is why if you have a very old person, very elderly, they could have trouble.
Oh yes. So pulling is the most. I say to people all the time. The only exercise I do are pulls. I do pulls. I don't really do pushes almost at all. So pulling. What I mean by that is do pull-ups, a lot of hanging, but also pulling from my feet using either inversion boots or an inversion table, or in some cases just at this point my feet my hooks are strong enough. There's videos of me doing it on the channel. You can check them out. You can do it if once you use the inversion boots for a long time and you really develop your ability to pull your feet towards you. You can engage your entire body so that you can hang from your feet, from the hooks of your feet hooking in towards you, and you're contracting the right muscles all at once, so they create sort of a locked mechanism. Like it's not a matter of I'm pulling with my legs, so I'm hanging upside down and contracting all the way up to the bar with just my feet. It's a matter of I'm twisting like bridge cables, twisting my body one way or the other to create a mechanical advantage. So I'm not pulling like just with my muscles straight. I'm actually twisting into a contorted position. And I think that's how most controlled, slow, like really impressive any movement is achieved by using our bodies as twisting mechanisms. So there's a lot of strength when you start to twist. You can feel it just by moving around and trying to move all your muscles at once. So strength, I don't think we're talking about necessarily. So I think what he's talking about is like explosive power and pushing power and kind of like. But again, if you're doing things the right way, you're not necessarily pushing because your muscles don't push. That's not how they work. They all pull. So getting a good mechanical push is sort of a twisting rather than I'm trying to use my arms, and I would say that would be incorrect. Anyway, here we go.
Trouble doing that, or if you have a very small child, like a toddler, like they're trying to pick stuff up and they're spilling it everywhere, they don't have the required strength and dexterity and neuromuscular connections to do that efficiently, right? It's a problem. But as we do techniques in jiu-jitsu, we're always using strength on some level. So where is the line? Where is the arbitrary line where we're saying we're using too much versus enough or too little or whatever, right? Nobody knows. Nobody ever tells it like that. But that said, I know we intuitively do sometimes feel as coaches, a lot of times we can intuitively feel you're using strength, too much of it at the wrong times, and that is an issue. And I think that if we were as coaches going to say, don't use strength, use technique, we should say, hey, don't use too much strength here, guide it over here and do this, and when you get here, now you can use a little bit of strength. Use it in this particular fashion so it's more in a technical fashion and it doesn't wear you out as fast and you're getting more bang for your buck as far as physical expenditure. But I think that telling someone you're just using too much strength is, it's an issue. Now, here's the deal.
I mean, I fully agree with everything you're saying. Like I said, I'm just saying that I'm defining like what strength, what we're talking when we say strength, what we're talking about. But he is 100% right. Like, you need to be able to know the times to use your explosive power. And like I said, just because the dark side of the force exists doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. There's a time and a place. Like if someone catches you off guard and you need to respond, you got to do whatever you got to do. You're outside and someone tackles you, whatever. Like, if you need to use the dark side, you just have to be aware that just like in a video game or something, there's a little meter at the bottom of your screen that if you hit that big move, you only have a couple of those. I don't care who you are. If your adrenaline is up and you're not calm or whatever, which is a whole different thing, breathing, emotional control, whole different thing, can make that bar almost eternal, or whatever you want to call it, bottomless. But if you're starting to really like use your explosive power and start breathing hard, you only have a couple of those explosive movements. So I agree. Like if you're going to use the strength and all those attributes and stuff, you need to really just do them at the right times, at the right places. So yeah, agreed, 100%.
I've seen this happen multiple times with guys that have come to my gym who were big, strong people who were told relentlessly not to use their strength, and it hindered their abilities. One guy in particular, very big, strong guy, was near 300 pounds, and he's solid. He's a brick house, right? We make a joke when he works on his rear naked choke defense. I'm like, just flex your traps. But he's a big, strong guy, and when he first came and started training with us, there was no pressure. I remember him being on top of me in side control, and I felt like I had 150 pounders who had more pressure on me. And so I was like, dude, you got to put more pressure on me. You got to learn how to use your strength and put a little squeeze on me. That doesn't mean he's like squeezing me uncontrollably, but he's using a little bit of it. Nowadays, like when he's on top of me, he makes me question life a little bit. I remember I was cutting weight about 2 years ago, and I was in like the mid 190s. I dropped some weight, and I remember being under him, and I was like, oh my god! Like I had that moment. I hadn't felt it in so long, where my mind was like questioning whether or not I just wanted to tap because there was so much pressure on me. I was like, oh crap! Like now, obviously, I didn't tap. I fought out of it, but it was a weird feeling. I hadn't felt that in a while. I was like, I got up and I slapped him on the back. I was like, now that's some pressure. That's what I want to feel from you. And so I think that it's better to direct them, because if we don't, they're going to be hindered. Because trust me, when big, strong people go against big, strong people, they're going to use their strength, and so they need to know how to use it. Likewise, if we don't give them some idea of how to use it properly, it'll end up finding itself in really bad places where it's almost like emotions. Like people who don't know how to deal with their emotions, they find themselves in the middle of the highway doing road rage because they just boil over to the
Emotional control, like I just said.
surface, or they lash out at family members because they don't have some outlet. We want to know how to use the strength properly, because just because you tell someone not to use strength doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there. So instead of saying don't use it, say here's how to use it. Because if you don't do that, what's going to end up happening is that person who's consciously trying not to use their strength, they're going to get up in some weird scramble or whatever else, and all of a sudden they're going to power through something, and it could be like something where they should zig instead of zag, and then they end up hurting someone. And so we want to give the person power over this attribute that they have, so this way they can discern when to use it, when not to use it, right? So if they're going against a 130 pounder, they know how to use their strength or let off of the strength to some degree and be more technical, but then when they go up against a bigger, stronger person, they can be more strong, and they can use more power if they need it. And so that's my idea. Again, it's just a short idea, short observation. Here's my question to you. If you're a big, strong person watching this video right now, comment down below. Let me know. Have you ever been told, don't use your strength, use technique, or something like that, or some backhanded comment about being strong?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a huge person. I'm 170, 175 between those, depending on how much water and how many poops I've taken in the day. Yeah, so, and I'm 6 feet. So I have a pretty good reach, but I'm not a huge, like, heavy person. But yeah, I've heard people, you offer that backhanded compliment, like oh, you're really strong. But I think a lot of times, so obviously sometimes it is someone being really strong, but I think other times it's someone being in, because if you are in exactly the right place, whenever you can feel, if you're connected, you can feel when someone's going to move, and you're in exactly the right, you're paying close attention to them. Maybe you even have your eyes closed, and you're paying close attention to all of where they're moving and they're breathing and everything, and they don't know that you're doing this. You can really time it super well when they go to move. So as soon as they go to move and use that explosive power, it can seem like you can put yourself, well, for you what you're doing is you're paying attention. You put yourself in exactly the right place. Just stop them and just stuff that power if you want to, or redirect it or whatever, or go with it or roll them or whatever it is. But to them, if you just stop it like that, it seems like that's why it seems like you weigh 1,000,000 pounds, because you're not putting your entire weight on them or doing that. You're just stopping all of their dark side energy at once, stopping it dead, and now they're out of it, and they think that you're some kind of superhero. So I think that, yes, sometimes it's someone who's just doing that, being strong, but other times, like when a black belt seems like they will weigh 1,000,000,000 pounds, they're like, pinning you down like an animal, like in nature. You see a nature documentary, like a predator just, moving with the prey as it gets, it's a boa constrictor, it's a lion, whatever it is, like something that grabs on and just waits and counters. Just those moments. It's the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Anyway, let's finish out this. There's only a couple seconds left.
And likewise, if you're a little bit smaller, feel free to comment with your thoughts on it. I'm curious to see what you guys would say. But yeah, that's the video. So that's my idea on being big and strong in jiu-jitsu.
Also, Coach Mike and I did a video about being bigger and smaller, and there are advantages and disadvantages of both. Everyone is different. There are not, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Well, check out the video. We talked about that already. I'll just leave this video I'm making right now in the comments for Chewie. Maybe he'll respond. We'll see. So Chew, if you're watching the video, man, thanks for all the videos. You're doing a great job. I'm gonna try and come down and visit sometime. James said he had a great time at your gym. So thanks for being awesome, dude. And we'll finish out the video.
Jiu-jitsu as far as don't use your strength. And guys, I'll talk to you next time.
Well, we'll talk to him next time if we do another video. So thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, and all that kind of stuff. If you want to come and train, come down to Stout, train with us. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for signing on, and come down and train. It's real.